Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Collector's Edition Wave 5, and these are the Platinum Chase variants. We have Sgt Rock, Kent Superboy, and Manga Batman. Now I've been hunting for these Platinums for a little while now, and I got lucky at what seemed to be my umpteenth visit to Target this week. I'd heard these guys were on an obscure end cap at the back of the toy aisle, and I saw a ton of Target stores with the end cap set up, but no product on it. Wrestling figures at the top, Funko Pops in the middle, G.I. Joes near the bottom, and then McFarlane toys in the bottom row. Finally, I went to a Target store that had all the collector's edition figures out, the brand new ones, and they had a full set of Platinums. So, another wave of Platinums checked off the list. So let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging. As you can see, this is Sgt Rock here, but his Platinum Chase variant, he's an all green, kind of like a toy soldier, which is a pretty kind of cool idea. McFarlane Platinum Edition comes with a bunch of accessories. McFarlane Collector's Edition, Sgt Rock, the 14th figure in the Collector's Edition subline, and here he is on the back. Of course, there's his barcode, but it's not going to help you track down a Platinum because the regular and Platinum has the same barcode. Next, we have the Kent Superboy, but this one is sort of a Super Luthor. Both versions come with 3 heads, 2 of which are Kent, and one is sort of a Luthor-type head. It is still Kent, but he's bald and has the heat vision coming out. And if you look at his shirt, above the Superman logo, he sort of drew in an L for Luthor. Platinum Edition, Kent, ton of accessories. I love the little diorama base. The 15th figure in the Collector's Edition subline. His barcode, once again, same as the regular version. And on the back, here he is, posed up from the Teen Titans comics. And finally, we have Manga Batman from a Japanese manga comic. And this Platinum is a black and white version, which sort of makes sense because it's an old school, sort of retro manga comic from the 60s. He has a bunch of accessories. Some really weird stuff. This is a bat camera, this is a go-go wand, this is a bat rope, and this is a batarang. Why do I know that? Well, that's the description of the McFarlane store. Platinum Edition, Batman. The 16th figure in the Platinum subline, Collector's Edition. His barcode, and the back, here he is posed up with the Boy Wonder. So with no further ado, let's open them up. Alright. Now that these figures are out of the package, here they are with all their accessories laid out. They all come with quite a bit of cool stuff. Looks like they're upping the accessories in the Collector's Edition, as they should have done a long time ago. So we have 3 figures here. Sgt Rock, and this one is sort of repainted as a toy soldier. Manga Batman, done in classic retro black and white colors. And then the Kent Superboy, which is sort of Super Luthor. In this video, we're going to take a look at each of the figures. We'll check out their accessories, height, and articulation, and we'll compare them with a bunch of other relevant action figures. 3 more Platinum Chase variants checked off the list. So let's go ahead and start off with Sgt Rock. So here's Sgt Rock. He has a display stand, collector's card, display stand for the collector's card, shovel, knife, helmet, and a total of 6 hands. Sgt Rock here is a soldier. He was in a lot of bloody battles in World War II. He leads his unit called Easy Company, but somehow he's around in modern DC comics as well. That's something I don't fully understand. But let's take a look. So this version here is purely done in green. It's supposed to be kind of like an homage to a toy soldier, and that's kind of cool. But a lot of the details are lost on this. You can see, barely see the dog tags here. You can totally see the sculpt, all the wrinkles and pockets on his outfit. Should be a sleeveless shirt, but it's kind of hard to tell because it's all one color. He has a backpack on here as well. Double jointed knees, double jointed elbows. He's done with a lot of parts from the Dark Knight Rises Bane body, which makes him a pretty tall figure. A closer look at his face and head sculpt. And here's Sgt Rock, broken down as far as you can go with all of his removable parts detached. Now for his accessories, starting off with the boring stuff. Here's his display stand. It's a typical McFarlane display stand, but this one is done in the sort of toy soldier green color, which is a nice touch. I don't think they've done much color variations on these stands besides the Jokerized versions. Here's his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of Sgt Rock. McFarlane Collector's Edition. On the back, we have a little description. If you want to read that, pause now. And it doesn't do much for me, but if you want to display the collector's card next to your figure, you have a stand to do so. Now for his hands. He has 6 of them, 3 right hands, and 3 left hands. Here's his first set of hands. These are his fists, and his next pair of hands. His right hand is a gripping hand with a trigger finger, and his left hand is a kind of open hand, could hold something large. And his last pair of hands, his right hand is sort of pointing, giving orders, and his left hand is semi-open. Pointing hand, semi-open. Here's his helmet. It's kind of interesting. The regular version of Sgt Rock that I got was missing the helmet. I'm still awaiting a response from McFarlane about that. So, here's his helmet. It's all in that green color. There's a little military logo at the front. It doesn't have camo colors, but some splotches of darker green around it. And here are the straps. Here's a look at Sgt Rock with that helmet on. Now for his backpack. It's made out of sort of a rubbery material. It's got a lot of give to it. You can see a place to stow away his shovel. It has straps, good amount of sculpting detail. Here's Sgt Rock wearing that backpack. Next we have his shovel and knife. Nothing too spectacular about these things. A little shovel. And of course, a knife. All done in that same green color as the figure. Here's Sgt Rock holding the shovel, and then here, stowing away the shovel onto his backpack, and then holding his knife, and here, holstering that knife. Now to check out the differences and similarities between this Platinum Chase version of Sgt Rock and the original version, and besides the obvious paint differences, it's 100% the same figure, same sculpt, same articulation. Let's take a look. Starting with their heads. Now, I appreciate what they're going for here, but God, this is such a better release. Purely painted, flesh color, brown and blonde hair, facial hair, some scruff. This guy here, it just looks very bland. You can see the dog tags, the different shading on the outfit, hairy arms, even their wristwatch is more noticeable, and then the pants done a different kind of green. This guy is all one solid color green. This guy's a bunch of different shades and varieties. Combat boots, double jointed knees, etc. Same thing here, just can't really notice as much with the bland paint job. Sgt Rock here uses a lot of parts from the Dark Knight Rises Bane. The parts he shares, the feet, the legs, everything from the waist down is the same. The torso seems to be different. The arms look to be the same, of course. It's going to be a little bit different down here where he has his glove on. And then, of course, the head is also different. But a lot of reuse. And it's not bad. The only problem is it makes Sgt Rock a little bit taller than he should be. The Platinum version of Sgt Rock is now the 5th figure to utilize the Dark Knight Rises Bane body. Here's this Toy Soldier Platinum version of Sgt Rock. Next to McFarlane Fortnite actual Toy Soldier figure. Now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, about 7.3 inches tall. Can translate to 18.5 centimeters, and his articulation. Starting with his head, of course you can rotate side to side, he can look up and down about that far, can tilt his head one side to the other, shoulders on a ball joint, a little bit tight there, goes up about 90 degrees, up, down, around. He does have that butterfly ring between the shoulder and chest area, increase the range of motion and cover up the gap. Bicep cut. Double jointed elbows, his wrist can rotate, and it's going to be hinged. Torso is one solid piece, kind of a soft goods overlay, and there might be articulation under there, but it's useless. Ball joint his waist, rotate around, forward and back. Legs, complete does the splits. McFarlane style hip joints, rotation, non-existent. Legs go forward, really not much at all. Probably about that much. They go out about that far. He's got double jointed knees. And his ankle. Forward and back. rotate, tilt rock, and toe articulation. Here's a look at Sgt Rock in the streets, staying next to his military jeep. Now let's check him out next to some other action figures, starting off with a couple of the military figures, and then some other McFarlane figures. Here's Sgt Rock next to several NECA Marines from Aliens, and here he is next to NECA versions of Dutch and his extraction team for the first Predator film. Then, with a bunch of Mattel DC Multiverse Suicide Squad Rick Flag figures, did head swaps, and I use these guys for soldiers that work for Amanda Waller. Here's Sgt Rock next to McFarlane DC Multiverse Frankenstein Mega figure. These guys are both on the Creature Commando team. In fact, so is Rick Flag on the left and Dr. Phosphorus on the right. It would be cool if they made the entire team. Now let's look at Manga Batman. This is Batman based off of some 60s Japanese manga comics. Manga are basically Japanese comics. Anime is a little bit different. That's Japanese animation. Some manga is adapted into anime, but this guy is specifically from some older school manga comics. I believe there were 53 comics in the series he's based off of. Came out around the time of Adam West Batman and was heavily influenced by that. This guy's done with the Nightfall body, and this is sort of a black and white version. Let's take a look. Start with his head. He has sort of old school, campy looking face. White eyebrows, black on the front of the cowl, almost looks like there's some stitching there. Shorter ears. As we go further down, the suit is white, gray, and a little bit of black. Double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, very familiar Nightfall body, but a pretty cool, retro, campy looking figure. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt, which I really think they did a good job of capturing the essence of what they were going for. Here's Manga Batman, broken down with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories, starting off with the boring stuff. Just like before, we have this McFarlane display stand. It's a black circle, very thin, very basic. Here's his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of Batman with the Boy Wonder Robin from the manga comics. McFarlane Collector's Edition. On the back, there's a description. If you want to read that, pause now. And this doesn't do much for me, but if you want to display his collector's card next to the figure, you have a stand to do so. Now for his hands. He has 6 of them, 3 right hands, and 3 left hands. Here's Batman with his first pair of hands. These are his fists, and then his second pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands. Here's his third pair of hands. His right hand is a gripping hand with a trigger finger, and his left hand is a pointing hand. Here are the rest of his accessories. We have 4 different things. So first of all, we have this bat robe with a little sort of grapple claw. Then we have this large, oversized batarang. And these other 2 things, very odd. Now, this looks like a telescope, that's what I thought it was, but according to the description, it is a go-go wand, whatever that is. And this here says it's a bat camera, although it looks like a children's toy top or dreidel. Here's Batman holding and getting ready to throw the batarang. Here's Batman holding his bat rope. Here's Batman holding that go-go wand, and I have no idea what that actually is. And here, holding that bat camera, which doesn't really make any sense to me either. And now to check out the similarities and differences between this black and white version and the color version of the Manga Batman. And besides the obvious paint differences, they're 100% the same figure. I much prefer the color version, but this one kind of makes some sense too, and it's visually kind of appealing. I like it. You can see the campy face on both the guys. The body's the same. This guy will probably go pretty good along with the other sketch McFarlane figures. And this Manga Batman uses almost all the same parts from the Nightfall Batman. The only differences will be the head and the belt. Everything else is the same except for the paint job. Like I said, head's totally different. The bat symbol is a little bit different, but they just sort of replace that risen bat oval there. Same stomach, same torso, same arms. Hell, the diaper is the same, just a different belt. And the same legs. And this Platinum version of the Manga Batman is now the 7th figure to utilize the Nightfall body. Catman, Nightfall Batman, and Manga Batman, and all the variants. Now for his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing at about 7 inches tall, which can translate to just under 18 centimeters. And for his articulation. His head can rotate side to side, can look up and down about that much, can tilt his head at least a little bit from side to side. Shoulders on a ball joint, goes up about 90 degrees, up, down, around. He's got that butterfly ring between his shoulder and chest, bicep cut, double jointed elbows. His wrist can rotate, and it's going to be hinged. Torso is a ball joint, rotate around, forward and back. Another one in his waist, rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, pretty good range of motion. Legs complete to the splits, McFarlane style hip joints, rotation minimal. Legs go forward about that far, back not much. Double jointed knees, and the ankles, forward and back. Rotate, tilt, rock, and of course, to articulation. Here's his Platinum black and white Manga Batman, next to all the different McFarlane line art sketch figures. Fits in pretty nicely. Now let's switch to an Asian type setting. Here's Manga Batman holding a samurai sword. And a closer look at this Batman holding his sword. And here's this Batman next to a classic Dick Grayson Robin the Boy Wonder. This is how they looked more or less in the Batman manga comics of the 60s. Here's a look at the Manga Batman fighting the Ninja Joker from Batman Ninja. And here, fighting the Ninja Joker surrounded by Joker dragons. Here's this Manga Batman standing proudly next to a couple of Batman Ninja figures. They've broken through the multiverse. The one on the left is Mattel, the one on the right, SH Figure Arts. The Mattel one is very large compared to the usual Mattel figures and fits in great with the McFarlane DC Multiverse. Here's Batman taking on Lord Deathman. Lord Deathman is an obscure Batman villain that was featured in the 60s manga a lot. And I'm pretty fond of him. I love the obscure villains. And here's Batman taking on Lord Deathman and a bunch of his henchmen. Now let's check them out. Next is some other action figures, starting off with some other manga and Asian type Batman figures. Here's this McFarlane DC Multiverse 7-inch scale Manga Batman, next to the McFarlane Superpowers 4-inch scale Manga Batman. Here he is, next to the Mattel DC Multiverse Build-A-Figure Ninja Batman, and actually scales up perfect with the McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Then, next to the SH Figure Arts Ninja Batman and Ninja Joker, and now, next to McFarlane Fortnite Skull Trooper. This guy can make a great fill-in for Lord Deathman, which is one of the adversaries in the Manga Batman comics. Here's Manga Batman, next to the McFarlane DC Multiverse Batman in his helmet armor, the Gold Edition. Manga Batman is based off Japanese comics, and this armored Batman is based off the Chinese New Year. Now let's look at the Kent Superboy, and this version I call Super Luthor. Kent Superboy is a clone that's made with the DNA of Clark Kent and Lex Luthor put together. He has the same powers as Superman, albeit a little bit weaker because he has some human DNA mixed in there too. I believe this is the same character from the Reign of the Superman, the sort of cool Superboy. So let's take a look. I'll start with this head here. This is sort of the Luthor head, and not really familiar what it's from, but as a clone of both Clark Kent and Lex Luthor, typically he identifies as a superhero, but I can imagine a point in time where perhaps he was becoming more like Luthor, maybe having a dream or flashback, etc. You can see his head, it's bald, the heat vision is coming out of his eyes, it actually looks pretty cool. On his shirt he has a Superman logo, but a big L sort of ripped through it. This body is done with a Todd McFarlane body, very thin, a little bit too thin for Connor Kent, but not by much. Double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, blue jeans, black t-shirt, and a closer look at his face and head sculpt. I think it looks pretty good. This guy would probably sit on my villain shelf, and the other version on the hero shelf. Heat vision coming out. Wouldn't mind a pair of eyes like this for a regular Superman figure. And here's this Superboy figure, broken down with all the accessories removed. And now let's check out those accessories. Starting off with the display stand, the same stand we've seen a million times before. He also comes with a flight stand. It's a transparent display base with a post that has a clamp to hold your figure. That way he can be floating in midair or flying. He also has this other display base, which is really cool. It's a small little diorama type base. It's like a crater in the earth where maybe he landed from flying or punched a big hole. They came with this instead of the display stand for your collector's card. And I hate those things, so I'm really happy they're moving on to something like this. Looks like sort of a shattered piece of the ground. A couple of pegs with holes in its feet. And it has a hole down here in case you want to attach it to, I guess, a regular display stand, which is totally unnecessary. It's flat and stands just fine. And here's his collector's card. As you can see, Superboy. McFarlane Collector's Edition. On the back, here's his description. If you want to read that, pause now. Now for his hands. He has 4 of them. 2 right hands, 2 left hands. Here's Connor Kent with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. And his other pair of hands. His right hand is a pointing hand. His left hand, a gripping hand. Now let's look at his heads. He has 3 of them. One is the bald, sort of Luthor-looking head. That makes me think of a villain head. It has the red, fiery eyes. Then he has 1 normal Connor Kent head and 1 angry Connor Kent head. Here's his first head. This is the bald Luthor-type head. Here's his Connor Kent head. This one has the normal expression. And here's his alternate Connor Kent head. This one has the angrier expression. Here's the Platinum Super Luthor next to the regular version of the Connor Kent Superboy. It's 100% the same figure. Both figures come with a Luthor head and the Connor Kent head. The only differences are going to be the jeans are a lot lighter on this version, and then he has the L sort of scratched out across the S on his chest. And in the package, this Platinum one came with a Luthor head attached, and the regular one with the Connor Kent head attached. But like I said, they both come with all 3 heads. So let's take a look. I like the differences here. You could almost say this is a second clone made with the Cadmus Project, ready to go and work for Luthor. Of course, you can see the L sort of scratched through the S on his chest. Identity crisis. And then the jeans, a little bit lighter on him, darker on him. And the majority of parts from this Connor Kent Superboy are made from the Todd McFarlane figure. Heads are different. The torso, both the chest and stomach are exactly the same. The top part of the arms with the sleeves are the same, but the actual arms themselves are different. You can see McFarlane's a lot longer. And then from the waist down, exactly the same sculpt. So these are the same figure, except for the arms, the head, and the paint job. In addition to that, as someone pointed out to me, Connor Kent and Todd McFarlane use the same legs from the waist down as John Constantine, except they redid the knee here with the sort of rip patch in there. So, mildly interesting. This is the kind of reuse that doesn't bother me, as it's not even very noticeable. And while not exactly a Lex Luthor figure, here's this Super Luthor next to 3 different McFarlane Lex Luthor figures they've made. Still hoping for one in a business suit. Now let's check out his height. Bottom to the top of his head, about 7.1 inches tall, which can translate to around 18 centimeters. And for his articulation, starting with the head, rotate side to side, can look up and down just the tiniest little bit. Can barely tilt his head from side to side. Shoulders on a ball joint, up, down, around. He's got that butterfly ring, bicep cut, double jointed elbows. His wrist can rotate and is hinged. Torso, ball joint, rotate around, forward and back. Another one on the waist, rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, pretty good range of motion. You get much more to the waist than the torso on this guy. Legs complete does splits. Rotation's non-existent. They go forward about that far, back not much. Double jointed knees, and then the ankle forward and back. Rotate, tilt, and rock. Of course, to articulation. Here's a look at the Connor Kent Superboy and the Tim Drake Robin on top of a rooftop. World's finest. And then here's Superboy posed up on another rooftop next to his trusty sidekick, Crypto the Superdog. Now let's check them out. Next to some other action figures. Starting off with some other Superboy figures. Here's this Connor Kent Superboy next to the Connell Superboy. Now these are both clones off of Lex Luthor and Clark Kent. And I'm not even sure they might be the same character. Connell is known as Connor. So I don't know if this is just sort of a more modern version. Is this what this guy turned into after Death and Return of Superman? Drop me a line in the comments below if you can clarify. Or are they two very similar but different characters? Because I was under the impression we had this guy here with the sunglasses originally, and this is his more sort of modern look. But if this is modern look, then what is this? I don't know. Are they the same character, or are they very similar characters? Let me know. And here he is, next to the John Kent Superboy. John Kent is Superman's son, so it's a different Superboy, although this is actually him as Superman. Then, next to Superboy Prime. Superboy Prime, I believe, is actually Clark Kent from a different multiverse. Sometimes he's a bad guy, sometimes he's a good guy. But when he donned the identity of Superboy Prime, one of his main goals was to wipe out all the other Superboys in the multiverse. And I found it odd that McFarlane chose Superboy Prime to make a patina variant. It's a pretty unpopular character, an unpopular figure. Here's Connor Kent, next to the Mattel DC Universe Classics version of the Con-El Superboy. I hope McFarlane makes this particular version as well. And now, here he is with the DC Direct John Kent Superboy. This is before they aged him up, back when him and Damian Wayne were the Super Sons, kind of their version of the world's finest. So here are all the different Superboy figures that I have. Pretty happy with this new Connor Kent Superboy. I hope McFarlane gets around to releasing the Con-El Superboy, but the kind from the Reign of the Supermen. This kind here. Here's Connor Kent, next to my two favorite McFarlane Superman figures, the Action Comics 1000 Superman and the Hush Superman. He scales up about the same height as them, but is a lot slimmer. He could maybe be just a hair shorter, but I'm pretty cool with the way he is. Here's the Superman family that McFarlane has given us. We have what I would consider normal or default versions of Steel, Supergirl, Superman, Connor Kent Superboy, and Krypto the Superdog. They've really covered the basics of the Super Team family. I'm not really sure who else we need for the modern, normal versions. Yeah, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, blah blah blah, but I mean the actual superheroes of the Super Team family. One could argue Cyborg Superman or Eradicator, but those are villains nowadays. They're not heroes like they were in Reign of the Supermen. I'm talking about the nowadays comics. I think this is a pretty nice lineup. Here's Superboy, next to some other members of the Teen Titans. Beast Boy, Arsenal, Wally West Flash, Superboy, Tim Drake Robin, Donna Troy, Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle, and Aqualad. I was a little bit torn if I should put the Wally West Flash or the Wallace West Kid Flash in the mix, but went with Wally. Here's a look at these Platinum Chase variants in the city streets, ready for action. So here's the McFarlane Collector's Edition Wave 1. Every single Collector's Edition figure has a Platinum Chase variant. Here are both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of the first appearance Superman, the Abyss, and Alan Scott Green Lantern. And here's the second wave of Collector's Edition figures, both regular and Platinum versions of Firestorm, Hawkman, and Sinestro. Then, the third wave of Collector's Edition figures. We have the Death and Return of Superman, Captain Carrot, Batman as Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman. Here's the fourth wave. This wave consisted of Penguin, Starfire, and Captain Boomerang. And here's the fifth wave, both regular and Platinum Chase variants of Sgt Rock, Connor Kent Superboy, and Manga Batman. Now the next wave, Wave 6, mine's actually supposed to arrive tomorrow. That wave consists of Clock King, Joker's Red Hood, and Ragman. There's also San Diego Comic Con exclusive, Agent Liberty. Really looking forward to adding those to the collection. And the wave after that is going to be a Dark Knight Returns Batman, Huntress, and a Green Lantern Army Builder. Since this video is about Platinum Chase figures, let's check out the other McFarlane DC Multiverse Platinum Chase figures they've made. Here are a bunch of the older Platinum Chase figures. And then here are some of the more recent Platinum Chase variants. McFarlane is making a ton nowadays. They really need to sort of slow it down and chill out. There are currently 15 Platinum Chase variants that I'm on the hunt for that are currently out. And that is 2 of the Alfred black and white figures from the 66 line, 2 of whatever figures of Platinum Chase in the most recent DC Direct, the new Batman Adventures line. I'm betting it's Catwoman. From the new Collector's Wave, I need 2 Joker's Red Hood, 2 Clock King, 2 Ragman, 1 Agent Liberty, and then the 7-inch Adam West is out. I need 2 of the black and white Platinum Chase of him. And then I've seen some websites starting to get the blue version of Ben Affleck from The Flash. I also need 2 of them. So even though I have so many of the Platinums that I feel like I'm caught up, there's still so many more to get. And there's so many more on the cusp of being released. Lucius Fox, Bullseye Batman, Hugo Strange's Batman, the Question Wave, and I'm sure many, many more. So overall, these are some cool Platinum Chase variants. Some of them are kind of lazy, some of them cooler than others. My favorite of the wave is the Super Luthor, as even though it's not a different character, you can put on your villain shelf and sort of use it as a different character. It looks considerably different and pretty cool. Sgt Rock is a toy soldier. It actually makes sense, but it's just a sort of lazy repaint, which is what Platinums typically are. And the Manga Batman, the black and white one, I have similar feelings, just a lazy repaint, but it makes sense as it's a retro 60s figure, and black and white sort of meets the theme. My favorite is the Super Luthor, then the Manga Batman, and then Sgt Rock, but they're all pretty cool in their each in own unique ways. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.